The British seaside is dying. That is what they keep telling us. Shuttered arcades and boarded-up hotels. Young people leaving for the cities. Pensioners priced out of places their grandparents could afford on a factory wage. The story writes itself, and the newspapers love to tell it. But here is what they are not telling you. Scattered around this coastline are towns where the estate agents have not arrived yet. Where a sea view does not require a lottery win. Where communities are quietly thriving while everyone looks elsewhere. 10 towns. Real prices. Real communities. Places your pension can actually reach. When we set out to find these places, we had specific criteria. We were not looking for cheap and cheerful. We were looking for affordable and livable. That meant average house prices under £150,000. That meant healthcare access within reasonable distance. That meant transport links that do not leave you stranded. And most importantly, it meant communities where people actually want to live. Not just places where houses happen to be inexpensive. We spoke to retirees who had already made these moves. The woman in Morecambe who sold her 3-bedroom semi in Reading and bought outright with money left over for a new car and a cruise. The couple in Hartlepool who had never been north of Birmingham before viewing day and now cannot imagine living anywhere else. The retired teacher in Mablethorpe who told us she sees more friends now than she ever did in 40 years in London. What we found surprised us. 10 towns where retirement by the sea remains genuinely possible. We begin in Redcar on the North Yorkshire coast. This is not a fashionable choice, and we are not going to pretend otherwise. The industrial heritage of Teesside is visible on the horizon. The wind coming off the North Sea can cut through you in February. But Redcar has something many prettier towns have lost. 3 miles of sandy beach that locals still use, a Victorian pier that still stands, and house prices that seem to belong to a different era entirely. The average property in Redcar costs around £115,000. A 2-bedroom flat with sea views can be found for under £80,000. These are not typos. This is what the market actually looks like in a town that most property programs have never heard of. Walk along the esplanade on a Tuesday morning in March. You will see retirees with their coffee, dog walkers on the sand, the surf school setting up for lessons. This is not a town waiting to be discovered. It is a town getting on with life. The regeneration here has been quiet but real. A new vertical pier opened in 2013. The seafront has been improved without being sanitized. The Zetland Lifeboat Museum houses the oldest surviving lifeboat in the world. Captain James Cook connections run through the local heritage. Direct trains reach Middlesbrough in 15 minutes with onward connections to York and Newcastle. Healthcare access comes through James Cook University Hospital in Middlesbrough, one of the largest hospitals in the region. 15 minutes by car or a short train journey. The retirement community here is established and active. Bowling clubs, walking groups. A community that chose substance over style long before it became necessary. Moving south along the Lincolnshire coast, we reach Cleethorpes. If Redcar represents honest northern grit, then Cleethorpes represents something different. This is the traditional British seaside that your parents and grandparents would recognise. Pier, promenade, proper fish and chips wrapped in paper, donkeys on the beach in summer. None of it ironic, all of it genuine. Average property prices sit around £130,000. Victorian terraces with bay windows and original fireplaces. Bungalows set back from the front with manageable gardens. The kind of housing stock that suits retirement without requiring modification. Cleethorpes has resisted the pressure to reinvent itself as something it is not. The amusements still flash. The cafes still serve tea in proper cups. The light railway still runs along the seafront as it has since 1948. Children today ride the same route their great-grandparents did. Diana, Princess of Wales Hospital in Grimsby provides healthcare access. 10 minutes away. The town itself maintains a fierce local identity, working-class roots that have not been erased by gentrification. A community that knows itself. Continuing down the east coast, we reach Great Yarmouth in Norfolk. Now Yarmouth has a reputation. Golden mile of arcades. Kiss me quick hats. The kind of seaside that travel writers mock. But that reputation hides something more interesting. Behind the seafront amusements lies a town of genuine historical significance. Grade 1 listed buildings. Medieval lanes called the Rose that survived the war. Georgian townhouses that would cost £1 million in Brighton selling here for a fraction of that price. Turn off the main seafront. Walk 3 minutes inland. You enter a different town entirely. Quiet squares. Brick walls worn smooth by centuries. This Yarmouth does not appear in the headlines. It simply continues. Average property prices across Yarmouth sit around £165,000. But significant stock exists under £120,000. The town contains multitudes. Tacky seafront and Georgian elegance. Retirement flats and medieval architecture, both existing side by side. The Norfolk Broads begin just inland. Miles of navigable waterway accessible for day trips without ever leaving the county. The climate here is milder than you might expect. East Anglia sits in the driest part of England. James Paget University Hospital serves the area. Artists and retirees have been quietly discovering the Rose for years now, finding the real Yarmouth behind the postcard image. Crossing the country to the northwest coast brings us to Morecambe in Lancashire. This is a town that nearly died. By the 1990s, the hotels were closing. The visitors had stopped coming. Locals will tell you there were years when the future looked very dark indeed. What happened next matters. Morecambe did not try to become something else. It held on to what it had. The Midland Hotel, that extraordinary white Art Deco building on the seafront. It sat empty for years. Water damage, vandalism, the kind of decline that seems irreversible. Then it was restored, beautifully, properly, and the town began to rebuild around it. Average house prices in Morecambe sit around £125,000. For that money, you get views across the bay to the Lake District Fells. On clear days, the mountains appear to float above the water. It is one of the great views in England, and it costs a fraction of what you would pay to see it from the other side. Eric Morecambe stands in bronze on the promenade, arms outstretched. Locals walk past him daily. The comedy heritage runs deep here. Lancaster sits 15 minutes inland. University, hospital, cultural amenities. Everything Morecambe lacks can be found a short bus ride away. The Royal Lancaster Infirmary provides comprehensive healthcare access. The creative revival here is real. Independent traders, community projects, a civic pride that survived the hard years and emerged stronger. Proof that regeneration does not require gentrification. That a town can improve without pricing out the people who stayed when staying was difficult. Bridlington on the East Yorkshire coast offers something different again. 2 distinct bays. A working harbour where fishing boats still land catches. The Spa Theatre still operating as it has for over a century. This is a town that never needed reinvention because it never stopped being what it was. Stand on the harbour arm at 6 in the morning. Watch the trawlers come in. See the catch unloaded. This is not heritage tourism. This is Tuesday. This is what the town actually does. Average property prices hover around £150,000. The northern old town has character. The South Beach stretches for miles. RSPB Bempton Cliffs sit nearby, one of the great seabird colonies in England. Puffins, gannets, thousands of birds nesting on chalk cliffs just a short drive from town. Hull is 30 minutes by direct train. The main hospital facilities are there. But Bridlington maintains its own community health services, GP surgeries, clinics, the infrastructure of daily life. The volunteer culture here is strong. Retirement groups, walking clubs, gardening societies. A community that organises itself because it wants to, not because it has to. Lowestoft in Suffolk holds a unique distinction. This is the most easterly town in Britain, the first place in England to see the sunrise each morning. That fact alone attracts a certain kind of person, someone who appreciates being at the edge of things. Average property prices sit around £175,000, but terraced houses near the harbour can be found from £100,000. The town divides into two distinct characters. South Beach is the resort, traditional seaside. North Beach is quieter, more residential. The working fishing fleet operates from the harbour between them. Fresh fish is available daily, caught that morning, landed that afternoon, sold from the quayside. You can watch your dinner come off the boat. The fishing heritage creates genuine community bonds. Families who have worked these waters for generations. Newcomers welcomed into a community that understands what it means to depend on your neighbours. Norwich is accessible by regular bus services. The Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital serves the wider region. The town itself maintains that particular Suffolk character. Independent, unhurried, quite comfortable with silence. Hartlepool in County Durham represents perhaps the most dramatic transformation on this list. The industrial past here was not distant heritage, it was living memory. The shipyards, the steelworks, the employment that defined generations. All of it gone within decades. What replaced it matters. The marina development transformed the waterfront without erasing what came before. The National Museum of the Royal Navy operates from the harbour. HMS Trincomalee, the oldest warship still afloat in Britain, built in 1817, restored here. A symbol of what preservation can achieve. Average property prices in Hartlepool sit around £100,000. Read that again. £100,000 for a town with a marina, with a beach at Seaton Carew, with sand dunes and wildlife reserves, with healthcare at the University Hospital of Hartlepool. The local pride here is fierce. Outsiders sometimes make jokes about Hartlepool. Locals have heard them all. They are not interested in defending themselves to people who have never visited. They are interested in building something for the people who live there. The welcome for newcomers is genuine precisely because it is earned. Crossing into North Wales brings us to Rhyl in Denbighshire. Rhyl has been honest about its past in ways that other towns have not. The decline was real. The problems were visible. The reputation was deserved. But something changed. £15 million invested in SC2. A new water park opened in 2019. The 1350 Underground Aquarium. Genuine attractions that draw visitors without pretending the past did not happen. Average property prices sit around £120,000. For that, you get Welsh Coast at English pension prices. Snowdonia day trips viable. Genuine bilingual culture. Strong community services developed during the harder years and maintained now that things are improving. Glan Clwyd Hospital in Bodolvidon is 5 miles away. Healthcare access is straightforward. Transport links connect to Chester and beyond. The honesty here functions as foundation, a town that stopped pretending and started improving instead. New Brighton on the Rhyl Peninsula offers something unusual, a seaside town within reach of a major city. Liverpool city centre is 30 minutes away on the Merseyrail, but New Brighton itself maintains its own distinct identity. Fort Perch Rock guards the entrance to the Mersey. Built in 1829, still standing, still dramatic against the sky. The marine lake provides sheltered swimming. The promenade stretches along the waterfront. Recent regeneration has brought new restaurants and venues without pricing out the existing community. Average house prices sit around £140,000. For that money, you get coast and city. Seaside living with Liverpudlian culture accessible whenever you want it. The Beatles' heritage, the galleries, the restaurants, all of it 30 minutes away. But your home is by the sea. Arrowy Park Hospital serves the Rhyl. The Scouse warmth is real. The community welcomes newcomers because that is simply what communities here do. The accent might take some getting used to, but the hospitality will not. We end with Mablethorpe on the Lincolnshire coast. This may be the most undervalued coastal town in Britain. A bold claim. But consider the evidence. Average house prices sit around £125,000. Beach chalets. Those iconic wooden huts that sell for £50,000 in Southwold. Here they start from £15,000. Affordable to own outright. A place to store your things and watch the tide come in. Paint it whatever colour you like. Mablethorpe never tried to be something else. Traditional seaside. Seal sanctuary nearby where rescued pups are rehabilitated and released. Sandy beaches that stretch for miles. Queen Victoria visited in 1856. The town has remained essentially unchanged in character since. The retirement community here is already established. Networks exist. Support systems function. People who made this move 5 years ago or 10 years ago, welcoming people who make it today. The mutual aid is genuine because it has to be. Because that is how communities like this survive. Healthcare access comes through the wider Lincolnshire system. Boston, Lincoln. The distances are real, but the community has organised around them. Lift shares, volunteer drivers, the informal infrastructure that develops when people look out for each other. The sea at Mablethorpe looks the same as the sea at Sandbanks. The sunrise over this coast is no less beautiful for being affordable. The sand between your toes does not know what you paid for your house. These 10 towns will not suit everyone. They are not the Cotswolds. They are not Cornwall. The weather can be challenging. The distances from family may be difficult. The local amenities may be fewer than you are used to, but consider what you gain. Financial security instead of financial anxiety. Owning your home outright instead of worrying about rent increases. Community instead of isolation. Purpose instead of idleness. The sea every morning instead of the sea twice a year. The mathematics are straightforward. Sell a modest home in the southeast. Buy outright in these towns. Bank the difference. Live on the interest or simply enjoy the security. Many people have done exactly this. Their stories fill the forums and the comment sections. But the sea is there. The communities are there. The possibility remains real. Visit in winter, not summer. See the place in its working clothes, not its Sunday best. Talk to the people who actually live there. Ask them what they wish they had known before moving. Check the hospital routes before you check the house prices. Walk the streets after dark. See what the town is really like when the visitors have gone home. The British seaside is not dying. It is changing. It is waiting. Waiting for people who can see past the headlines. Waiting for people who value substance over fashion. Waiting for people ready to trade postcards for real life. It might be waiting for you.